Hey guys, it's Rian with Momma on Mission. Today we are talking all things Tot School. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I am Rian, a Christ-following wife and a book-loving homeschool mom to 3 boys. So stick around, hit that subscription button, hit that notification bell, and you will be notified when we upload anything homeschool related, biblical womanhood related, or book related. So today is all about Tot School. I am Tot schooling my 3rd child right now. He is 2.5 and he loves school. So here is how we go about it. So this is something that I try to do first in our homeschool day. Not necessarily first thing in the morning, but before we get our homeschool day started, I like to hit this first because it kind of fills up his tank and he feels that he has been seen and heard and given attention to before I give my attention to the older boys. So that kind of fills up his love tank, but we keep it really easy. We do not use a curriculum right now. We might as he turns 3 or 4, but not right now. It is mostly a relational time where I'm talking with him, having conversations with him, very conversational. We also try to keep it short and we leave it off on an open-ended note with something that he can sit and continue doing even without me. And this isn't flawless. This isn't something that always goes perfectly. It always works, but he doesn't always love when I leave. But it helps. It helps if I just take time for him before I attend to the older boys. So, and then throughout our day, we also just include him as much as possible in the rest of our activities. It's kind of hard because my boys are 7 and 9, and he, like I said, is 2.5, but he likes to listen to some stories. He likes our memory work, our memory songs. He memorizes some of those much better than I thought a 2-year-old could. So he just kind of does what he can. Okay, so first things first, when we are doing Tot School, we start with stories. I start with 2. Sometimes he begs for more, but I try to keep it, like I said, kind of short so it doesn't completely wipe out the rest of our school day. But we do books from the library. We do our tried and true favorites. It just depends kind of what we have and what strikes him that day. And then we have a loop for concepts. So our next time that we work on, I even have a handy dandy schedule. Imagine that, me and a schedule. But these are all just 3 separate loops that I use for Tot School. So first we do a concept time. And so each day we do one of these. We don't do all of them. We either do ABCs where we sing them, write them, work on recognizing them. We do our numbers, count, recognize, or our shapes and colors. So depending on what day it is, so if the day before we did numbers, then this day we would do shapes and colors. And then the next day we would do alphabet stuff. So that's how a loop works. I'm sure you're familiar with that. So when we do ABCs, what does that look like? Sometimes that is simply getting out our handy dandy little wooden blocks that everyone has, I'm sure. Whoa. And saying, this is an M, and just tracing it with our finger and making the noise. And I am not expecting him at 2.5 to learn all the letter sounds and be able to recognize all the letters. But it's just an introduction. We just say M, M, moon. And trace it with our fingers, and then we might even do the numbers even though it's not number day. If he's into it, we'll do that too. So yeah, we'll just use these. Sometimes that looks like getting out the whiteboard, the little handheld whiteboard, and just writing our letters. He loves to do letter A because his name starts with A, and so we just do up, down, across, and he likes to do that over and over and over. So he's getting really good at drawing the letter A. Sometimes that looks like we have one of those alphabet puzzles and we just take it all apart and he likes to put it back together, and as he's putting the pieces in, we just say the letter names, sometimes the sounds. Sometimes that is flashcards, same thing, just kind of pointing out different letters, saying their sounds, tracing them with our finger. So like I said, it is very loosey-goosey, very conversational. It is nothing, it's mostly just getting him familiar with what a letter is and how to look for one. On our number days, like I said, that could also be these guys, and we count the mice and then say number 2 and trace it with our finger. Sometimes it's the whiteboard, sometimes it's flashcards, kind of the same deal. We also have this little Melissa and Doug toy that we like to use with the fish with the numbers on them. And then, well, my kids have tangled this all up, but then we have the little fishing pole. He's obsessed with fishing, if you don't know that. And they clip on there, and so we'll say fish for the number 2 fish or whatever. And he, like I said, isn't good at recognizing numbers yet, but that's what we're working on. And there's a little spinner, I think, where you can spin too, but we don't always use that. And then sometimes we also have a Melissa and Doug. I'll try to insert a picture if I remember. Like a car garage, and there's numbers and there's colors on there, so we kind of can work on both of those. So then in our colors and shapes day, he does have, I think, all of his colors down and almost all of his shapes, but we just kind of reiterate that. We have a Mickey flashcard with colors and shapes. And so I'll lay them all out and I'll say, okay, go find me all of the hearts. Okay, go find me all of the greens or whatever. And he loves doing that. We also use just these little baby toys, and we work on, in addition to colors, obviously we can do color recognition, but we also do, okay, let's stack them. Which one is the biggest? Okay, put that on bottom. Which one is the next biggest? So we can work on comparison, bigger, smaller, whatever. Like I said, it is very play-based. It is very natural feeling, but I feel like it's just a good introduction. So then after our concept time, we move into motor skills. And so our loop for that is cut and paste, paint or water wonder, lacing cards, or color and draw. So even though some of the stuff I was doing in the beginning, like these stacking things, that is motor skills. But I feel like the best things for this tot preschool age is to combine concepts and motor skills. So you'll see a lot of things that you're like, isn't this kind of repeating? And it is, but we try to focus on different things. So for cut and glue, sometimes I literally just give him a pair of scissors and some construction paper and just kind of, I'll do hand over hand for a little bit to try to help him get that motion down, but otherwise I just kind of let him go at it. And then once he's done cutting, I give him a new piece of paper and say, okay, let's glue him on. And it's just a beautiful masterpiece. I also do have a book that has, you know, the dotted lines, but he's not quite there yet. So kind of I'll hand over hand that with him and then let him glue, you know, we'll cut apart a picture and then glue it back together on another piece of paper. So it just kind of depends what we feel like that day. So the next day, if we've done the cut and glue the day before, the next day we would do paint or water wonder. So sometimes I just get out the full paints and just let them go to town. Sometimes if I'm not feeling the mess, we'll get out the water wonder pages, which are also Melissa and Doug. It's the little cardboard sheets that you just paint with water and a picture shows up. Then the next part of our loop is lacing cards. We all know what those are. Sometimes I'll also do the lacing beads. I have some fat beads that I can use for that if we want to switch that up. We also have used Fruit Loops before. It just depends, again, just getting that fine motor in. I've also made him a little toy out of an oatmeal container that he decorated the outside of, and I used a hole punch to cut holes in it, cut a slit in it, so in the slit he can put the, we have like old gift cards and stuff, and then in the holes he puts pipe cleaners or straws. So stuff like that he really enjoys still. And then on his color and draw days, this is just, I mean, all throughout the day he's free to color or draw. But this time I like to take intentional time where he, you know, follows me around. Mama, draw a tow truck. Mama, draw a boat. Mama, draw a fish. So I don't always have time for that. So this is the time when I take the time and draw whatever he wants me to draw, or help him draw something that he wants to draw. Or we sit down and color together. He loves doing things together at this age. So that's really fun. And then the last thing on our loop is independent work. So these things I usually start off doing with him, but then I try to kind of leave him to do those while I go and work with his brothers. So this is things like puzzles, beans, blocks, Play-Doh. So again, these are motor skill things, but he's 2. This is what they need to be working on. So we will start a puzzle together, and then I'll get out. Sometimes we just do the fat, chunky piece puzzles. I mean, he's kind of got those down pat, but they're still fun for him. Sometimes we do kind of the old school jigsaw puzzles. I have a whole bunch of those that I found, I think on Craigslist or something a long time ago. Anyway, he has all different types of puzzles from himself, or that are his and his brother's if he needs to move up. So we'll work on those together, but then I'll kind of leave him and let him do some by himself. Beans, we have a little Rubbermaid container full of dry black and white beans that I just give him cars and spoons and little cups, and try to lay a blanket out and keep a perimeter so that he knows where they can go, which usually works pretty well, and they're easier to clean up that way. I have a friend who also did rainbow rice, and I would love to try that. I just don't have time for that, but it sounds great. I might do that someday. And then blocks, this can be our little wooden blocks. We also have a bunch of other wooden blocks that aren't the letter blocks. This can be Duplos. He's not quite ready for Legos yet. But like I said, I will start building with him and kind of get him going, and then say, okay, now you finish it, and then I go work with his brothers. Like I said, sometimes this transition is a little tricky. Sometimes he kind of just wants to hog Mama's time to himself, but it's good. And then Play-Doh, of course, just sit him in his high chair with his tray so he can't go anywhere, and give him Play-Doh, give him the tools, and let him go to town. So the only downside to some of this Tot School stuff is that my older boys want to join in. And sometimes that's okay, but I usually like to have them be working on their independent work while I'm doing this, just so that school doesn't take us until dinner time, which sometimes it just does, and that's life. But so I kind of try to make time for my boys to be able to do some of this stuff, but sometimes I'm just like, you're in 4th grade. I'm sorry, you don't get to do the beans right now. Like, you have to go do your math. So that's the only downfall I've really seen. But other than that, I feel like he's getting a lot of good exposure. He's getting a lot of good one-on-one time. We're working on our relationship. We're working on our communication skills. We're working on vocabulary. So like I said, it's not much, but it works for us. So if you have any other ideas, let me know them down below. We have a ton of other toys that we use for stuff like this. I just didn't feel like dragging them all out. But this is a really fun age for me, and I'm excited to see him grow and learn. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.